have a very powerful concentration practice, you actually accrue a lot of powers. Not powers that are purifying, but powers that actually sway external forces in the world. And so Devadatta was really jealous that all these people were coming to the Buddha, and so he went to the top of Vulcan Canyon and had the intention to kill the Buddha. Just so, I can't imagine the karma of that. But anyway, so he rolls this rock down in an attempt to kill the Buddha, and it just catches the heel of the Buddha, so it hurts the Buddha's foot. And afterwards, the Sangha are like, your great holy one, get rid of this guy. You know, he's dangerous. And the Buddha, in just an expression of love, saw into Devadatta and saw that there was a possibility by keeping him in the Sangha that he might heal. And so he said, no, I'm not going to expel him from our community, even though he tried to kill me. And actually, Devadatta then tried to split the Sangha and sort of wooed away a large number of people. And after that, the Buddha said, no, this man will actually create more harm and is not open for healing, and so he formally expelled him. But that expulsion actually also just came from love. So we have these stories are not just stories, they invite us to remember that we too have this particular capacity and power to heal by calling on love. And that love is a love that is already in our hearts. It's not like we have to go to Walmart to buy a pot of love. You know, the love is here. It's awakened through our practice. It's awakened through our practice. So each one of us has the same capacity. And we're called to this practice because there is an intuition that lies underneath us that understands that we can transcend and heal through the power of love. And so one of my favorite, one of my also great inspirations is Mahagosananda. Some of you might have heard me or Jack Cornfield talk about him. He's a Cambodian monk. Was, because he's died. He died a year and a half ago. He was the most senior Cambodian monk. And during the killing in Cambodia, you can imagine just for a moment what it must be like to see your family murdered, to see your friends murdered, for perhaps an army to burst in here with machine guns and just to kill most of us and to be the survivor. How easy it would be to hate, to pick up a gun in hatred and revenge. So, of course, there was that energy that was there. And so he walked through Cambodia and through areas where people didn't walk because there were so many landmines, and because he walked, people followed, and he walked from place to place, but particularly from refugee camp to refugee camp, and he just sang this one sentence over and over again: hatred can never cease through hatred. Hatred can only cease through love. And he would come into the camps and he would sit in a particular place and just keep chanting it and chanting it. And over time, more and more people would be drawn to join him, until apparently there were thousands of people who sat around him through the days and evening chanting, hatred can never cease through hatred. Hatred can only cease through love. So we in the Pioneer Valley had the great blessing of having Mahagasananda live in the Peace Pagoda in Leverett. And by the time he came to us, he had lost a lot of the sort of cognitive functions through age and some of his languaging. But whenever there was a demonstration for peace, for example, I don't know if it's happened here in California, but we had a series of demonstrations where we brought the shoes of soldiers, both American and Iraqis, who had been murdered and laid them out in the common, and would come and have people talk about it. He would always insist on coming, because even though he couldn't relate to everyone, he came, and then with his drum he would chant. You know, so until he died, he was still doing it. It was so beautiful, this profound commitment that understands that love is the great healer. In talking about it in this way, sometimes it's easy to hear it and to feel already, even though we're only a little bit into the Dharma talk, as somewhat of a failure, like, well, I know love is great, but I do not feel that much love. In fact, I feel very far away from love. In fact, at the moment, my back is sore and I'm highly irritated. And I wish Arinna would just shut up so we could go for an evening swim. And so just to say that in naming this and in naming our possibility, in no way disregards what we also have acknowledged here over the weekend, which is the power of the habitual mind. That we have both this capacity to love and to love unconditionally, and we also have the stream of energy that is based, that lives from believing that we are inherently inadequate and insecure, that we are inherently not good enough, and that the movement out of that energy is one that goes into grasping, that grows into holding, that grows into hating and ill will, and that grows into confusion. And I think of something that, you know how something in the world just always really strikes you. And the one of the things that strikes me so much is what happened in Bhopal, India, where the Union Carbide owned a pesticide factory there, and there was an explosion and an incredible emission of poisons. Up to this point, almost 100,000 people have died or have gotten sick from the emissions. And Union Carbide, I think, has now been taken over by either Unilever or Monsanto, I've forgotten which. But they have refused to give to the doctors in that area the composition of the poison so that the Indians can come up with an antidote, because they don't want anyone to know what the composition is, so that they lose their production rights over it. That's a very strong story of what happens when we believe in this basic insecurity and inadequacy inside of us. And so we hold on to things like power and privilege and wealth, believing that if we don't hold on, somehow we'll crash into this sort of vacuum of inadequacy. It is a really powerful force. If it wasn't a really powerful force, we would be different and our cultures and society would be different. So just to name it, when the Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree and said, I vow to purify my heart and my mind, I'm not getting up. I'm sitting here until I am awakened. After doing incredible amount of practice, even he was assailed. He was assailed, it's said, by, these very seductress woman, devas, Mara, the force of delusion, in the